Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 11 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. A couple of episodes ago, I went up against this team and I ended up losing to it in a really close game. It turns out that the team my opponent was using is actually a public rental team made by a Japanese player called Grand. They were able to use this in the Japanese online national qualifiers, and I believe they qualify for Japanese nationals using it. So I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, as well as a team report and rental courtesy of them. So huge shout outs to them for the team, and I'm excited to continue the adventure of us losing to a team and then trying it out on Road to Ranked. So, in this team, when we went up against it, there were a couple of things that really caught me off guard, which was kind of this nasty Plot Ally Switch Rotom-W combination, as well as Min-Speed Ditto. And you're probably thinking, well, Min-Speed Ditto normally doesn't matter, but if you saw that episode, they actually were able to transform under Trick Room, outspeeding my Calyrex Ice Rider, and then transform into their Rotom-Wash. It was just a really wild game. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend it. But I wanted to feature this team because it also just has some pretty unique sets in the defensive safety goggles Swagger Scary Face Thundurus. Swagger Thundurus was a set that I know very near and dear, and it was very common way back in VGC 2013, and was also very good in 2015. Now, since then, Swagger was nerfed, as well as Confusion being nerfed, so it's a lot less reliable as an option to kind of disrupt your opponent. That being said, obviously, it can still be a strong option to increase your opponent's attack immediately, right? So you're going to often use the Swagger onto the Lum Berry Landorus and then just get the +2 attack immediately. Landorus is going to be the primary Dynamax option with this team. Rotom, of course, can max as well. So it's really between those two, as you can't max Zacian, and then Thundurus, Umbreon, and Ditto are obviously not max options here. So the team really plays heavily centered around Landorus and Rotom. The idea is, you either get a nasty Plot off, or you get the self-Swagger off into Landorus, get the +2 going, and then just sweep with Landorus from there. So Thundurus is interesting in this format because a lot of players were using Thundurus offensively throughout all of Sword and Shield once it was introduced, but then defensive Thundurus kind of came back, and so yeah, like you kind of keep your opponents guessing in team preview if they have to be very careful about just bringing Incineroar immediately. Normally, Intimidate's a nice way to deal with Landorus, but if you intimidate a Defiant Thundurus, it can snowball out of control. So it's cool that you can kind of bluff your opponent into thinking that it might be offensive Thundurus when it's actually defensive Thundurus. So that's the main combo between Thundurus and Landorus. I described Rotom, the goal is to just get a nasty Plot off. Rotom with the Citrus Berry is already pretty bulky, and then when you add Intimidate or Eerie Impulse on top, it further decreases your opponent's ability to just KO it easily, and then so you can get a nasty Plot off and then potentially just Dynamax. Rotom's also just relatively strong in this format, even as a non-Dynamax Pokemon, right? Against Pokemon like Groudon and Kyogre, for example, you can do super effective damage, and it's quite good into a lot of the Dynamax options you often see. Finally, to round out the team, you've got Zacian. Note that this Zacian is very bulky, and it doesn't have very much speed investment at all. So the idea is that you are basically going to accept that opposing Zacians, for example, will be faster, but that's fine because you have good speed control with Scary Face on Thundurus. And so Scary Face can obviously drop your opponent's speed immediately with that Prankster. So the idea is that you don't need a full speed investment because you've got good speed control with this team with that Scary Face, as well as potential max Airstreams from Landorus. Substitute has just been one of the most common moves on Zacian and continues to be strong, especially when your opponent doesn't have much offensive pressure against it. Finally, to round out the team, you've got Chople Berry Umbreon. Chople Berry is just valuable because Umbreon, goes up against so many fighting type attacks, mainly like close combat from Urshifu, for example. And so, yeah, it just allows you to survive for a little bit longer. You've got Helping Hand, which is really good in combination with Zacian when you already have that +1 attack boost. And then Foul Play, Snarl, and Yawn, which are all pretty good staples on Umbreon. Yawn in particular is really nice, especially against a Pokemon that might want to Dynamax in front of Umbreon. Umbreon's tanky enough that it can survive so many hits. Also has Inner Focus, so it can't get flinched. And if you're able to get a Yawn off onto a Pokemon that Dynamaxes turn 1, that puts you in a really good position. And so, yeah, because it essentially means that they will fall asleep after the second turn, so you essentially only get 2 turns of Dynamax, or you're forced to switch out after that first turn. Finally, you have Focus Sash Ditto. As you may have seen, normally the EV spread for Ditto doesn't matter very much, but it does play a slight role in that if we go up against opposing Trick Room teams, as I learned the hard way, we can actually outspeed some Pokemon if Imposter hasn't copied anything and then use Transform before they were able to potentially get an attack off. So, yeah. I never thought I'd see the day where the Ditto EV spread actually matters, but this is Min Speed Ditto, and that's a very particular scenario, but it's one that came up in when I lost against this very exact team. So I'm excited to dive into things, and I'm mainly curious if we can get the Swagger combo with Thundurus and Landorus off. I think the main scary thing about Swagger is only 85% accurate, and without running something like a wide lens, right, like it is kind of coin flippy. That being said, you know, you're going to hit the majority of the time, right? You just have to be a little bit careful about relying on it and going all in on turn one. And normally you want to be in positions where you can say, okay, even if I miss, well, Landorus won't get one hit knocked out this turn, so it's still probably fine. So yeah, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what animal you think should inspire the next Pokemon. Let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, first game of the day, and we're up against another Zacian team with Dragapult and Mamoswine. So we actually used Dragapult and Mamoswine, was it at Series 8 or 9? I think it was 9. But it was a cool team featuring Weakness Policy, Mamoswine, and then Surf Dragapult. I don't expect that to be the case here, but that's something to watch out for. Now, the Mamoswine is actually a really big issue for our Thundurus and our Landorus combination. So, I have to be careful about that. Umbreon here is interesting because we've got Yawn. I can't heal myself, no Moonlight, but Helping Hand can, you know, give us a burst of damage, which is valuable. This is generally pretty weak into Zacian though, so that's one thing to watch out for. And the Zacian on this team is not speedy. So as a result, we have to be a little bit careful about the mirror match, and we don't have Thunder Wave here on Thundurus, but we have Scary Face, which can be valuable. If I'm my opponent, I don't know, like, Rillaboom plus Mamoswine scares me a lot, with Rillaboom in the back. Rillaboom plus Mamoswine. Generally think Rotom is interesting. I want Landorus, but I think I want it in the back. I feel like Thundurus doesn't give us that much value here. I'm down for Rotom, Zacian, Landorus, and then Ditto. I think if my opponent's restricted Pokemon were to Zacian, I would probably bring the Umbreon because it's really good into Mamo, Rillaboom, and Dragapult. Like, none of those can one-shot the Umbreon, even if they're Dynamax, then like you can just yawn them if they're maxed, which is really good, or just even go for a foul play. So, yeah. Definitely a scary team here, because I think they have like the speed advantage with me not bringing the Thundurus. There's going to be Dragapult and Rillaboom, okay. If I had T-Wave on Thundurus, maybe I could have also brought it here, but without it, I like can't really hit the Dragapult at all, which was part of the concern. I guess the interesting thing here is like you just Dynamax turn one. You could say Electro Web and just Max Phantasm. I mean, who do I want to Dynamax in this game? Probably Landorus, but they probably have Mamoswine in the back, which is scary. I'm leaning towards a... actually, if I Nasty Plot, the issue is if Dragapult Phantasms, they'll just... Like, the question is, does Electro Web and Phantasm KO the Zacian if they're Life Orb? I'm actually not sure. Okay, instead I'm actually down to just Hydro Pump Rillaboom and play rough the Dragapult here. Okay, they are going to commit the Dynamax. I guess you could also Dynamax Rillaboom here, but I think Zacian, Zacian can take a Max Lightning. Okay, we're going to Max Dragapult. I'm generally okay with that. Ditto being able to copy Dragapult is really interesting. So let's see. Okay, there's an Electro Web. Yep, it's to be expected. I don't know, that was a position to consider Ally Switch as well, actually. I don't think it would have been a terrible spot to go for. It is Phantasm. They do target Zacian. Nice. Zacian's bulk prevails. Okay, that's incredible. That's what I figured we could survive there, but I was not 100% sure, so that was like a little bit scary. I should have doubled up on a Dragapult, though, because I think Play Rough might miss out on the knockout here, but never mind. At +1, it just does get the KO. Okay, cool. I think if I were to replay that, though, I would T-Bolt into the Dragapult just to, like, guarantee the knockout, but maybe that is just a guaranteed KO. I don't know the damage roll there at all. And so this is the upside of having a bulky Zacian, right? It's like max HP investment, so we're actually able to survive that double up. Nice. I don't know if that's Focus Sash Rillaboom because it looks like it has 2 or 3 HP, so I don't know the item on it. They just bring out their Zacian, which I'm generally okay with. Now, the key thing to note is that I do have this defense drop on Rotom, right? and I'm pretty low HP with my Zacian. So this game is still very far from over. But the thing is, oh, I definitely don't want to run. I've got Landorus and I've got Ditto, and I feel like with their Dynamax being gone, it's not bad to just close out the game with both of those. If you're my opponent, you can just go for Electro Web and then any attack onto the Rotom slot. I'm just like, I could switch Zacian out into Landorus, but I'm nervous they get the Landorus on the switching because I think Landorus is way too essential for this end game, right? So I think honestly here I'm willing to give up both Pokemon because I've got Landorus and Ditto in the back. Okay, they just go for Electro Web. That'll actually activate my Berry on Rotom. I think the main thing I wanted to avoid here was switching my Zacian out, because my Zacian's already going to be slower than my opponent, right? So I don't really get that much utility conserving it, and Intimidate against a Zacian here isn't that important when they can just knock out my Rotom anyway. What I really don't want is to them to get the Landorus on the switch-in, right? And then just deal way too much damage to it. By going for this, now I have Dynamax to play towards in the late game. They don't have any Dynamax, right? And I have a Ditto, which I can use to copy either Pokemon. Now this is actually pretty interesting as to who I want to copy. Zacian seems like the obvious choice, right? I think I will just go with the Zacian here. Because here's what I can do. I can copy their Zacian, and then I can Dynamax my Landorus to max Airstream. Now, their Zacian can obviously Behemoth Blade my Landorus, right? And it'll do double damage, thanks to the fact that I, of course, am Dynamaxed. But they're intimidated, so I don't think it'll KO us. And since it won't KO us, that's all that matters here. Because what it allows us to do is max Airstream with my Landorus to guarantee I'll outspeed their Zacian. Because the thing I want to avoid right now is Electro Web and a Behemoth Blade into the Ditto slot, so... Oh, it's Helping Hand. That's interesting. Doesn't really help them, no pun intended here. I don't outspeed Regieleki at +1, do I? Zacian should, though, theoretically. Like, I don't want to give them a free switch into Mamoswine here, so the play I'm actually going, I want to go for here is to Protect, and then Max, and then Airstream into their Zacian. Because my issue here is if I knock out... Oh, they're going to switch that out immediately, okay. Oh, it's into Incineroar, okay, cool. That's pretty good to see as the last one, because that means your Landorus options here are really not amazing. Cool. This means I get a free... First of all, they didn't bring Mamoswine. I think that was the primary Pokemon I was worried about in this end game. So not seeing that is good. It also means Regieleki here is probably just going to end up Electro Webbing, but the thing is that you can't Fake Out into... It's actually a really good switch, though. I think that is probably the best play they could have gone for. I mean, Ditto being able to copy my opponent's Restricted is good, and Landorus is in a phenomenal position right now. So, like, I don't mind things too much, but, like, I did miss out on an opportunity to just attack with Zacian there. However, by doing this, I do conserve my Focus Sash for a turn, and they actually just go for T-Bolt. Okay, so they didn't go for Electro Web. T-Bolt makes sense there, though. So I'll get Max Airstream off now. Okay. Now if you're my opponent, though, if it's Max Speed Regieleki... If it's Max Speed Regieleki, you could actually just Fake Out and T-Bolt the Zacian slot here anyway. And I'm afraid of that actually picking up the KO. I don't need any more speed boosts at this point, so I'm down to just Behemoth Blade the Regieleki slot and Max Quake it here. Oh, actually, man, I wonder if Max Rockfall KOs Incineroar. At -1, I actually don't think it does, but I would think Max Quake does. Oh, you know what I can do? I can Helping Hand Max Rockfall here, and that actually gets me a double KO. It's just a question of whether or not, like, Fake Out plus T-Bolt knocks out Zacian here. Or I should say Ditto. Yeah, so they are faster, but that's fine. Okay, we survived. That's huge. Nice. I think they should get the double knockout here. Even if Incin survives, actually, it's fine because of the fact that I was gonna say, if they survive there, like, you can't switch out anyway, and I just outspeed both of your Pokemon next turn, so nice. This is why I really love Ditto. You can just, take advantage of your opponent's sets and gain information, which is always just so cool. So the key thing now is that my opponent never went for Electro Web, so both of my Pokemon will outspeed their Pokemon, which is really sweet. And so I don't need to go for a max Airstream. I still have one more turn of Dynamax to work with as well here. So yeah, the key thing here is us just having a really bulky Zacian that could hit theirs on turn 1. So we are at neutral, attack -1 attack, but +1 speed. I mean, Helping Hand Max Quake should just get the knockout, right? I honestly don't know what's stronger between Helping Hand Max Quake and Behemoth Blade Max Quake. I think the play would be to Helping Hand in case they protect. Yeah, they can never win from this position because we're faster with both Pokemon, right? So, like, even if you get a KO onto either, the other will just outspeed and KO you next turn anyway. And so, like, by going for Helping Hand Max Quake, this just punishes them should they protect, but they don't, yeah. Doesn't really end up mattering, right? Even if they survive here, and they're not able to. Cool. Yeah, I think the key thing here is that they did not end up bringing that Mamoswine, and I think it was probably the Rotom that dissuaded them from bringing it. One mode they could have gone with if you're really scared about Rotom is like Regieleki, or sorry, Rillaboom Dragapult, Mamo in the back. Because the thing is that Mamo's still like pretty scary, especially if it has Focus Sash as its item. Because then you can survive an attack and then you can deal massive amounts of damage to like Thundurus, Landorus, and Zacian even just with the high horsepower, for example. So fortunately for us, it didn't end up coming out here. And I think if my opponent's last one was Mamoswine, would have been a little bit scarier. That's why I went for the Airstream that turn onto Zacian and not the Eleki. They could have Volt Switch, I guess, in that spot, though. But then the key thing is that, like, an Ice Shard shouldn't knock out the Landorus, and by Airstreaming, I also covered for Mamoswine there in the back. So, yeah. I think the main thing in this game was really just an amazing turn 1 where we're able to survive and then just get the knockout onto their Dynamax Pokemon. I feel like that's been a common theme in all the games so far throughout... the Series 11, where we've been able to, fortunately, like, neutralize our opponent's Dynamax and make sure they just don't really get any advantage out of it, and only get maybe one turn at maximum with it. So, yeah, cool to really be able to use Ditto and get a win here. It's nice to copy the Zacian, and, yeah, just overall was a fun match, so let's keep it going. Next match of the day, and it's Kyogre, but with Talonflame. Okay. Talonflame Kyogre really just takes me back to, like, VGC 2016, so that's interesting. I feel like Thundurus in general with Eerie Impulse is super awesome here. I mean, Rotom Wash on paper should be really good. I think we definitely don't bring Umbreon here since their team is not really physically oriented. I mean, they have Talonflame, Talonflame, Landorus, and Grimmsnarl, but if I were to bring Umbreon, it would mainly be to stop like Swords Dance Landorus setup. But I think Rotom on my end is generally just super strong to play towards. Probably should be the Dynamax option, but I guess my fear is then dealing damage into the Ferrothorn because, as you'll know, we don't have a fighting type attack here on Zacian. They don't know that, though. And dealing damage into Ferrothorn is actually going to be a really big issue, I think. The alternative is to just go with Thundurus and Swagger on turn 1, but, like, they have Intimidate from Landorus, and they have Grimmsnarl, which can set up screens. Just don't want the combination of that. Okay, I'm thinking Thundurus, Rotom, Zacian, and then probably Ditto again. I don't know, Ditto being able to copy my opponent's Kyogre I think is pretty valuable. I guess Umbreon's not even a terrible bring. What I'm nervous about in this matchup primarily is Ferrothorn, because I don't have good damage into it in general. And if this is like an Iron Defense set, well, actually if you're Iron Defense like Leech Seed, Body Press, then you actually don't have a way to really deal significant amounts of damage to Rotom, so I could just like Nasty Plot a bunch, but they're gonna go with Talonflame and Kyogre. Okay, I mean Rotom's obviously really good against this. As is Thundurus, I actually feel like this is a really solid lead for us. My only question is whether or not Talonflame is Taunt. Like, the play I want to go for is Eerie Impulse into Kyogre. If you're my opponent, you might also even be scared of, like, Thundurus maxing and just going for Max Lightning. But, like, the play I'm leaning towards is just Eerie Impulse and then Nasty Plot. Because I think a Dynamax Rotom is what I want to play towards. So they just Tailwind, which is fine. I mean, Water Spout's still going to hurt Rotom here, but We have Citrus Berry, so ideally it just activates the berry. Okay, they do go for Water Spout. Yep. Okay, that doesn't do that much. It actually doesn't even activate the Citrus, but I think that was a position where I would have preferred for it to have activated. But that's the thing. Now I have a +2 Rotom, and they kindly set up the rain for us, which is also pretty sweet. Kyogre switching out feels like the play. Could even go for a second nasty plot with Rotom. But the issue is something coming in and then pressuring with lots of damage, right? I can also use Ditto to copy their Kyogre right now. That's actually somewhat interesting to me. I mean, another Eerie Impulse on a Kyogre is generally safe. I don't feel like I really need to worry about Talonflame that much. I just think it's going to be Sash Talonflame here, so I feel like I'm wasting a max turn here. Like, I actually think I could have gotten away, and they stay in with Kyogre too. I think I could have gotten away with just clicking Thunderbolt this turn, instead of Dynamaxing. Yeah, because they really had no offensive pressure on a Rotom here with Talonflame and a -2 Kyogre, right? Especially if I'm Eerie Impulsing Kyogre, so yeah, I think this was a waste of a max. And if it's like Focus Sash Talonflame, it's actually going to punish me really heavily. So, don't love that. Okay, they go for Quick Guard. I see, that makes sense. So the goal is to just knock out Thundurus here. Preventing me from going for that. But the nice thing here is it will... that's a really bad crit. And that's the downside. Like, yeah, you can get through the boosts. That actually puts us in a very bad spot. Like, I wouldn't say it's impossible to win the game from this spot, but like, Rotom was in such a fantastic position. And without that crit, like... our berry wouldn't have even been activated. We still would have been well over 50%. Okay, it's not Focus Sash now. I mean, Sash seems kind of counterintuitive because you'll want to run like Brave Bird and Flare Blitz. I guess the one thing to comment here is that if we didn't Dynamax, the Spout crit would have actually just knocked us out. So we actually kind of needed to ultimately, which is funny. I think I'll go into Ditto here and copy the Restricted, but it puts us in a really tough spot. They go into Ferrothorn though. Okay. I mean, the thing is, like, you're not going to take a +2 Max Geyser in Rain very well right now. And I just copied your Kyogre, so I get to see the moveset. It's not choiced. It's probably, like, -2 Thunder here onto my end makes sense. Ferrothorn was the main thing I was actually worried about initially. What do I think my opponent's last Pokemon is going to be? Landorus? This also could be an offensive Ferrothorn, and they can max in, like... Power Whip this thing. If I had set up terrain, actually, then I could have gotten a terrain boosted Thunder onto this. That would have been cool. I feel like I maybe needed to double up on a Ferrothorn here, but I wanted to protect to conserve the Sash, and they actually switched that out, so I also could have knocked out the Landorus coming in. Although, actually, it's fine because we have Focus Sash on the Kyogre. Or, I should say on the Ditto. But, like, I actually could have just Max Geysered Water Spouted here and probably have won the game. So that was a risky play by them, but I guess, like, they were in a pretty tricky spot as well. It doesn't get the knock. I mean, yeah, I should have expected to get the KO. Did they Power Whip? No, they Iron Defense. Okay, that's actually totally fine with me. I'm just a little sad because I missed out on an opportunity to knock out the Landorus on the switch in. But I have one more turn of Dynamax. Like, this is where... I honestly don't think a Max Rockfall KOs us, but you can max the Landorus and then Max Guard with it. It is their last turn of Tailwind right now. I'm just sad because if we clicked Water Spout there that last turn, it was game over immediately. But even a -2 Thunder would have still hurt us, right? And then, like, would have put us in a bad spot. So that's a nice play by my opponent. Good at Geyser the Kyogre slot too, reading the switch out. Zacian's my last Pokemon. I could switch Ditto out right now. Oh, I actually forgot that I copied the... Oh, that's awkward. I forgot I copied that. I think I should have Ice... Oh! That's a cool play. Does Water Spout KO Ferrothorn at -2 here? I really hope so. Oh, that's so bad. And they actually have Power Whip. Wow. So okay. Yeah, I was thinking we'd be fine there anyway. Oh man, the fly. The fly, the fly, the fly. That's sick. Wow. The main question now I have is what is the item on the Landorus here? Because I can protect to conserve my Sash. This was such an interesting game. I should have taken some bigger risks earlier. Not knocking out Ferrothorn there is such a bummer, but I did not play this game perfectly. Last turn of rain, I'm at -2. I don't even know if conserving Sash is worth it here. Oh, I do have sub. Okay, yeah, I think it's Water Spout and sub here. But I don't think... Oh, we do have Play Rough. Maybe Play Rough actually saves us then? Okay, they do go for Fly. This game is just wild. They targeted that slot last turn, meaning I actually just get the knockout. You know what the wild thing here is? I actually think my... I was going to say, like, because my opponent had Power Whip on Ferrothorn, one, they missed out on an opportunity to just Power Whip my Rotom earlier, but they could have maxed it as well. But suddenly, we're not in that bad of a position anymore. Now the thing is, because we're, like, sub is so valuable here in dealing with Kyogre in general. So we start out their Tailwind. We have Play Rough. The thing is whether or not I want to risk missing Play Rough, but I think I just got to go for it. And we have Focus Sash on Kyogre, right? So we're at -2, but if you're my opponent, you would think like you'd have to max Kyogre at this point. It's the argument to be made then to click Behemoth Blade, but even Dynamax, we just really don't deal enough damage. So here I think I'm willing to actually just Thunder and Play Rough in this spot. Because Zacian will outspeed the Kyogre. We know that they're not choiced. Yes, they are going to Dynamax. I don't mind Behemoth Blading after this turn, but it would be an absolute disaster if we Blade here. We miss. And then they break my sub. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how bulky the Kyogre is here, so I'd rather just go for the +1 Play Rough, which should deal at least 40%. Okay. Play Rough is going to connect here. Just under, but Thunder will put it in KO range. And they go for Geyser. Okay, cool. I think the main thing in this game is that my opponent got put in an awkward position. Like, the fly play on Landorus was, like, kind of fancy, and it looked good for a turn. But I honestly think if they had just maxed Landorus in this game, they would have just won right there and then. Okay, we don't get a para, but that's fine. I think because we have Substitute here and we're faster, what I can actually do is just Thunder the Kyogre and then just sub with the Zacian and then put Kyogre in a place where we can just KO it with Behemoth Blade instead. This is the beauty of Substitute in a Dynamax format, right? And Zacian is just naturally faster than so many Pokemon already. So even without that much speed investment, I'm still outspeeding the majority of the format, especially most of the restricteds. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This game just didn't play out how I expected it to at all, and I think like both of us had some like opportunities where we could have just like won the game immediately. Okay. I'm pretty sure Behemoth Blade finishes it off, but I see literally no reason to not click Substitute here. The game's a guarantee win in 2 turns, and I'm fairly sure Blade will KO, but there's no, like, yeah. I might as well just play it safe, I'd say. Well, actually, because we have the Focus Sash on Ditto, I think we could always just Blade here, and it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, I think even if they were to survive, they could have just ended the game maybe 1 turn sooner, but yeah, I think they recognize they can't win anymore. Wow, okay. This was a scary game because of that early crit, and I was also frustrated because I also completely forgot about the fact that you would copy the Kyogre's drops. I'm so used to like Ditto copying boosts, but not drops. But in the end, Water Spout was still really valuable, and I think this was a game in which like my opponent tried to make some fancy plays, but like with Ferrothorn, they missed out on an opportunity to just Power Whip Rotom immediately. And then with Landorus, I think they could have just Dynamaxed that and won the game. Because if you Max Quake there as well, you get a special defense boost, right? Meaning that the Kyogre that I've copied, like an Ice Beam, is certainly not KOing you, especially at -2 special attack. So this was one in which, like, them going for fly actually benefited us, especially because they were faster than their own Kyogre, so we were able to just pick up a double KO there, which I certainly wasn't expecting. And then the other thing was that they went for the fly target onto the Zacian slot instead, which was initially Rotom. So I guess they were just reading into Ditto switching out the previous turn, and, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that really cost them the game, honestly. And so that, once again, like, the trend of our opponents not really getting that much value out of Dynamax continues. But this was a game in which, like, that end game, or really the mid to end game, all played out in a completely different fashion than I'd expected. So we'll take the win, but I can't help the wonder, though. Like, if Rotom just didn't get crit initially, actually, the problem is because they had Power Whip on Ferrothorn, I think that, yeah, if, well, let's say that crit doesn't happen, we're still in good HP range, but then the thing is, like, Rotom's in an awkward spot because it might still get KO'd by Power Whip from Ferrothorn, and as you saw, the +2 max guys are, did 75%, but it wasn't enough to actually knock out Ferrothorn. So yeah, I feel like I could have played this game better, but I'm trying to think where. Quick Guard on Talonflame was also something I could have anticipated, but I don't think I was ever going to switch Thundurus out there. I could have just Thunderbolted turn 1, but then if I Thunderbolted, I just take way too much damage from Water Spout with both Pokemon, and then Thundurus actually just faints. So no, T-Bolt doesn't make sense. I think Area Impulse is fine. The other play of this game was, yeah, reading into the turn Kyogre switched out. Even just Geyser'ing, like, the Kyogre on the switch out would have been good. But the main issue is I felt like I had no damage into Ferrothorn. I needed one big max move from Rotom, and I got it. And that's what I was looking for. So, yeah, let's look for one final game. Alright, final game here, and it's a very classic Groudon Sun team. I don't have Rain Dance on Thundurus. If I did, that would make me very happy here. Let's see. What do I want to deal with? By the way, today I had to record the episode in a couple of different settings, so my voice might have, like, the quality of my voice might have decreased a little bit throughout, so I do apologize for that. Normally I try to record it all in one sitting, but sometimes, you just don't have the time to sit down for like 30 to 40 minutes. I mean, Rotom's really good here. Venusaur is scary. I haven't even actually gotten the Swagger Lum stuff off here, and this could be a game for it. I also can't help but think I should be bringing Umbreon. I mean, all of our Pokemon are good here. If I'm my opponent, what am I thinking to play towards? Charizard, maybe? Like, I kind of like Thundurus and Lando here because I can either Swagger or I can even go for, like, Eerie Impulse or Scary Face. Should still bring Zacian. I mean, if I'm like, am I gonna bring Rotom if I'm not maxing it? Probably not. But, like, is Ditto even valuable for us here? Like, what can I copy that I really get value out of? Not much. I'm bringing Rotom mainly because of its matchup into Groudon specifically here. So yeah, I don't know if that's the right decision or not, but we'll see. Okay. What is our goal here? I mean, first, I guess, see who maxes. Charizard and Venusaur. Ugh, yeah, this is like... I mean, Sun continues to be really strong, and I think the scary thing about the Charizard Venusaur lead is it's so flexible. You can switch either into Groudon turn 1 and make your play based off of that. I'm not Life Orbed on the Venu either. So it's like, if I were my opponent, what would I do? Who's more likely to switch here? This is so tough. Because if I call it wrong, I kind of just lose the game immediately. Okay, I'm going for Scary Face and Rockfall on a Charizard because I have Lum. But it's the Charizard that switches out. Okay. But you know what? Actually, this is fine because I changed the weather this way. It's just if it's like Gmax Venusaur and they just go for Gmax Vine Lash, it's obviously scary. They're not maxing though, but this is where, because we have Lum Berry and we have Safety Goggles on Thundurus, like I can take a turn 1 Sleep Powder. So That was the logic behind this play, where it was like, if my opponent plays greedy and switches Venusaur out into Charizard, maxes and just targets Landorus, I'm in a really bad spot. I guess, though, the thing is that you do have to cover for Assault Vest on Landorus or Thundurus, so my opponent's probably less likely to go for that play. Yeah, but I was just trying to, like, because imagine if Charizard maxes there and we pick up a knockout onto it, we probably just win the game immediately. We actually dodge, which is really lucky, too. But I don't think the dodge actually is, like, a deal breaker because we had the Lum Berry, right? So this was exactly what I was trying to go for, where I cover for my opponent making this play turn 1. Okay. So now the thing is, I outspeed the Venusaur, meaning that I can actually just go for the Swagger now onto the Landorus slot and then just go for a max Airstream. Like, I actually think this just puts us in a even better position than I would have anticipated. And that's the thing, right? Turn 1, we didn't get the prediction right necessarily, but it didn't matter because it was a play that basically covered for everything. And, like, let's say Venusaur does max there and goes for Vine Lash. Well, then the next turn I can just go for Swagger onto Landorus and Airstream the Venusaur. We've changed the weather, so we'll just outspeed the Venusaur the subsequent turn. So now we're in a really good spot. Yeah, they're going to switch Venusaur out. That's fine. That makes sense. It's going to be into Umbreon. Okay. I wonder if a +2 Airstream knocks out Umbreon. I wouldn't count on it. And they protect. Beautiful. I mean, we're in a position now where Landorus really can move, but the thing is getting enough out of our Dynamax turns. Nice. Swagger hits. Yeah, the main thing about them missing that Sleep Powder last turn is that I get to make the Swagger play now with full confidence, right? Whereas if they had Sleep Powder, hit Sleep Powder, obviously I don't have the Lum Berry anymore. We just miss out on the 1-hit KO. Okay. If Umbreon is not... Is it buried? Okay, it's not buried. I was going to say, if it's buried here, that's really bad. Oh, it actually faints from that. Oh, that's huge. Okay. What do I have in the back? I had Rotom. Man, maybe I should have brought Ditto. Although, you know what? The awkward thing about Ditto is, like, I don't want to copy Groudon because I don't want to reset the sun for them. Support Thundurus is putting in so much work right now with Eerie Impulse and Thunder Wave support. Not Thunder Wave, sorry. Scary Face. What do you even bring out right now for my opponent? Charizard, that's interesting. I think if you bring out Charizard, I mean, Groudon should switch out here. You want to sacrifice? What I'm down to do is Airstream the Groudon. That'll cover for a Venusaur. And then I'm down to Eerie Impulse into the Charizard slot. Yeah. Like, I think Landorus is just in such a good spot right now. And I think, like, the awkward thing for them is, like, because I Rockfalled on turn 1 and I was able to change the weather, they're in a tricky spot where it's like, how do you change the weather back? Yep, so Groudon switches out. Great. Actually, well, you know, getting rid of Venusaur is really good, right? Because that's the biggest threat to my Rotom in the back, and they just protect Charizard. Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, because the Groudon protected last turn, and because I have Eerie Impulse, I don't really have that much incentive to go for a Rockfall onto the Charizard slot. I think the one way which I saw us losing the game, it's still possible to lose, right? But the one thing I was really worried about was them protecting Charizard. Maybe Rockfall KOs through Protect anyway, actually. But then the thing is, I did not want to deal with Venusaur under Sun. I'd rather deal with Charizard, right? Because Charizard isn't going to outspeed us, and I have Eerie Impulse. And the main thing is that Charizard does not get access to Sleep Powder, right? That was the main thing I was scared of. So Groudon comes out now. I think it's still possible to win if you're my opponent, though. You just go for the double Protect with Charizard. Yeah, because I have Zacian and Rotom in the back. Okay, so then the question is, can I play around a double Protect? I guess the question is, like, do you one-shot Landorus with Groudon here? Because the play I can just make is Thunderbolt into Charizard, and we're at +2. I could also miss Rock Slide, so that's the other win con for them. But because we're faster with both of our Pokemon, it's fine to just Thunderbolt and Rock Slide here. Covers for Max Charizard. If they max Charizard, that'd be great. Although, actually, like, you easily just get back into the game if you max Charizard and I miss Rock Slide, so that's another win con. But I didn't think Eerie Impulsing was valuable there. Okay, they max Groudon. Yeah, this is the play. You need to max Groudon and then hope for a double Protect with Charizard. If you get that, you're actually not in a bad spot. But because we have Rotom and Zacian in the back, like, we haven't even used my our restricted Pokemon yet, I still feel pretty good. Okay. Oh, T-Ball just KOs? Was that a crit? No, it's not even a crit. Okay, it's fine then. They didn't go for the double. And they Rockfall, which actually changes their own weather. Interesting. So they targeted... Okay, that makes sense. They were basically hoping to survive the turn with Charizard. I can't believe T-Ball one-shot that, though. I'll take it. I mean, Charizard normally doesn't really run any bulk on teams like that, but still. Yeah, now we just win the game with Zacian. Cool. And Rotom. That's why I wanted to bring Rotom as well, but the turn one Sleep Powder was obviously a really big deal, because it just allowed me to get the Swagger off immediately and then go from there. So the game definitely would have been a lot harder for us if they had hit that, but I still felt fine about where our position was after turn one, even though like they made the better play, just because this Landorus changing the weather is just so good. Yeah, I'm just really surprised about T-Ball KOing there without a crit. Okay. It's always fine to protect here, I think, into an Earthquake. Like, once again, this is the beauty of having late game Zacian with sub. EQ should just put the Groudon in Behemoth Blade KO range, and then Rotom can just come in and Hydro Pump as well. So, I have so much damage on my side right now, and they really don't have enough to defend from it. That was a tanky Groudon. That was a +2 Earthquake. It didn't do much. And then they Rockfall into Landorus, too. Okay, nice play. Still doesn't really change much, though. Like, because you're so bulky, you just don't deal very much damage, right? Like, that was a max move against the Landorus with basically no bulk. I mean, I'm pretty sure Behemoth Blade should just finish it off here. So, just go for Fly and Behemoth Blade. Yeah, it's like, and even if it doesn't finish it off, it's like, how is Groudon going to win against a Landorus at +2 and a Rotom in the back? So, like, this is me just accelerating the pace a little bit, because that last game, like, I probably didn't need to drag it out. But, like, I could actually see Groudon surviving here, which is the funny thing. But it does not, okay. I should be more willing to click Behemoth Blade at the end of the day. Cool. I'm pretty happy about today's episode, because I feel like we featured a lot of different modes. Like, Ditto was super relevant. We were able to get the Swagger combination off. We had a game in which we Dynamax Rotom as well. Thundurus put in a lot of work. It's mainly Umbreon that didn't really get to shine today, but everything else really was able to come out and, yeah, demonstrate its value. So overall, just a really fun set of games, and it was always fun to use a team that I lose against, and then take it for a spin ourselves. So thank you so much as always for watching. Details in this, for the team are in the description below. Once again, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy, answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.